is Independence Hall, symbol of our national freedom. And here is Bill Williams, symbol of another kind of freedom. Bill is a life insurance underwriter. His business is to provide people like you with family independence. Bill enjoys his work, and he takes it very seriously. His is a big responsibility, to help people to provide for their future and the future of their families. Let him tell you about one of the families he helped recently.
This is the Fisher home. It's a nice ordinary home in a nice ordinary neighborhood. But Jim and Nora Fisher were extraordinarily nice people, I decided, the first time I called on them. Jim and Nora had just sent their youngsters off to get ready for bed that night. We sat in the dining room having a cup of Nora's good coffee while talking about providing security for the future of their wonderful family. Jim, I want to talk to you about your future, yours, Nora's, and the children's. I know you want the assurance of knowing that your family's well provided for in case anything should happen to you.
That's right, Mr. Williams. My family's the most important thing in the world to me.
I then told Jim and Nora about an insurance fund that would take care of what we call last expenses. Hospital bills, funeral costs, outstanding debts, taxes, and so on. Things that seemed lost in the distant future as we sat talking that night in the dining room.
I know Nora would need money for things like that, but it's not enough. I've got to know that she and the children are always going to have a good home. I've worked hard to get this house, but boy, we sure have a long way to go on our mortgage. Now, isn't there some way of covering that problem?
There sure is, Jim. I'll tell you about it.
Oh, Jim, there is so little chance of anything happening to you before the mortgage is paid off. After all, we're still young. Maybe we might have a fire or something terrible like that, but it doesn't seem
I interrupted her right there with some statistics that she found surprising. And so did Jim. Do you know that for every home lost by fire during the mortgage period, 15 are lost through the death of the homeowner? 15 to 1. Those are pretty big odds. And yet almost everyone has fire insurance. They take care of their banker's investment, but they forget to consider the security of their family. Before I could go any further, the kids came in to kiss their parents goodnight. We laughed at young Bobby, who was clutching a rocket ship.
No, Bobby, you can't take your rocket ship to bed with you. Take your teddy bear.
And as the youngsters left, including a somewhat disgruntled Bobby, Jim laughed.
Honestly, that kid's just nuts about rockets. He asks so many questions I can't even answer. You know, his sole aim in life is to be a space scientist.
Well, suppose Bobby does want to become a scientist, Jim. Or a doctor, or a businessman, or an architect. This means that Bobby's going to need a college education. Now's the time to start planning for that. I explained then how they could establish an educational or opportunity fund so that when the time came for the family to prepare for a profession or a business career, there would be money available.
Look at this. Bobby's shoes have come apart again. What a problem to keep these children in respectable clothes. When he's not wearing them out, he outgrows them.
Clothes are only part of the financial problem of raising a family. Healthy youngsters have healthy appetites, and keeping them healthy requires good medical and dental care. And that's why your plans for the future should include a fund that will cover food and clothing, medical and dental bills, and all the things that your family will need to maintain a good standard of living.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Williams. That sounds great. But it also sounds as though it's for much wealthier people than the Fishers. I'm just an ordinary wage earner, not a corporation head, you know. I'm afraid I just don't have the kind of money that it takes.
Jim, you're worth more money than you think. You've probably never figured your earning potential. Let me show you something. If you are earning $100 a week, that means in 10 years you've earned $52,000. And if you took your lifetime earnings, Jim, they would come to close to $250,000. Now, part of this fortune can be budgeted to provide security for you and your family. Jim and Nora readily admitted that they'd never quite appraised Jim's earning potential in this way. I then went on to tell them how they could make a portion of their earnings available for their use when they were ready to retire also told them about the 100 men going through life. These 100 chessmen represent 100 men at the age of 30. Now let's use the latest figures and see how they look 35 years later at the age of 65. 27 will be dead. More than half of the remainder, 37 to be exact, are still working, even though they've reached the age of 65. Of the 36 remaining, 5 enjoy financial